Hey folks, welcome back to another review right here on the Dice Tower with yours truly, Sam Healey. This is a revisited review, kind of, because Tom is the one that actually did the only review of Bang the Dice Game, the core box on the Dice Tower. I have done reviews for the two expansions, Old Saloon and Undead or Alive. So this is kind of a revisited review, and we're going to go with that. But anyway, at Gen Con, I was able to pick up Dice Explosion. So let's get down to the table and take a look. So here is everything that comes in the dynamite-shaped box that Dice Explosion comes in. Now, I do want to say right off the bat that they don't just have a bunch of stuff thrown in the little canister here. They actually do have an insert that holds everything really well, and there is some packaging inside that box. Now, with that having been said, this is a solid jumping in point for the game. It's kind of weird, because you know I already like the game. Period. End of discussion. Hard stop. But I do want to go over what's in the box so that everybody can see the value that's here. First things first, it comes with everything that comes in the core game. You have all of the roll cards, all of the character cards, all of the player aids, all 5 dice, all of the arrows, and all of the health tokens, which are bullets. Then they also have all of the stuff that came with the Old Saloon expansion. So all of the new characters, all of the new roles that have the special abilities on them, the Ghost Renegade, all of the Ghost tokens, the 2 new dice, the Loudmouth and the Coward, the Chief's Arrow, all of the stuff that comes in the Old Saloon, all of the new player aids as well, that's in there as well. Then you also have everything that comes in the Undead or Alive expansion, which is the zombie cards, the Boneyard cards, and the Rage cards come in there. All of the new characters come in here as well. All of the dual wounds that come with having to use the dual dice if you wish. So one thing that I want to make sure before we move on is that everything in these expansions are modular. You can use them, drop them in, pull them out, whatever you like to do. And that's one of the cool things that I always loved about both of the expansions for Bang the Dice Game, is that everything was modular. You could pick and choose what you wanted to use and go from there. But on top of all of this, they also have 4 new characters that you can use with the different expansions that are out there. You have John Payne, a.k.a. John Wayne, that can be used with the Old Saloon. You have Flint Westwood, like Clint Eastwood, that can be used with the Undead or Alive expansion. And then you have 2 other characters, Big Spencer and Taryn Hill, that can be used with the base game, basically. So the Brave 4, they also come with rules as well as to how you can use them in those different scenarios. So this is what comes. This is basically everything, plus 4 new characters that is available for Bang the Dice Game. This is an incredible value. Now, along with a little bit of thematic flair, this little envelope is inside of the canister as well. And when you open this, it actually has a little letter, and it's what all of the different rule books are kept in. So that's a pretty cool thing. I actually like the fact that they didn't have all of the rule books smashed into one. They kept each of them separate. I like that. Now, if you're not familiar with the game, basically how it goes, and you can feel free to go back and watch those other reviews. They still stand pretty strong. But basically, you're going to have, based on the number of players, a number of different roles going from sheriff, deputy, outlaw, or renegade. And the sheriff is one that is known the entire game. His role is never hidden. Everybody knows who the sheriff is. But everybody else's role is hidden. And you have to basically go through the game, and how people act is all you really have to go on to base on any logical conclusions on who they might be in the game. The sheriff is trying to kill the outlaws. They're trying to get rid of the outlaws, and the outlaws are trying to get rid of the sheriff. But in the mix, the deputies here are trying to protect the sheriff and help him get rid of the outlaws. But the renegade here is trying to win the game. The only way he can win the game is if he is left mano a mano with the sheriff and the sheriff goes down. So those are the different win conditions from each of the different roles. As you're going through the game, you're going to be rolling 5 dice on your turn. When you roll your dice, you can have one roll, and then you can choose which ones you want to re-roll. Maybe you want to keep these, and you want to re-roll these, and so forth. You keep going. But if you roll a dynamite, that's going to lock the die, and you can't roll that one anymore. If you roll 3 dynamite at one time, your turn immediately ends. You have to take 1 hit point, and then you can resolve the rest of your dice, but you don't get to re-roll anything else anymore. So that's what 3 dynamite sticks do. But if you manage to roll, for example, 3 or more of these Gatling gun symbols, then you can immediately damage everybody else at the table and resolve the rest of your dice. But that's after you have completed your roll. Maybe you wanted to re-roll these after you've gotten those 3, and you can continue rolling. The beer bottles, or the sarsaparillas, what I like to call them, they will basically give you 1 life point back if you keep that as your final roll. Then you also have arrow dice, arrow face of the dice. Whenever you roll an arrow, you have to take one of the arrows from the center of the table and put it in front of your character, and then you can re-roll that die if you wish. When all of the arrows are gone from the center of the table, anybody who has arrows in front of them will have to take 1 hit point for each of the arrows that are in front of them. Then all of them go back to the center of the table. You can continue rolling your turn, but that can happen at the middle of your turn, so you have to be careful with economizing these arrows because they can do a lot of damage when they all fire off that way. The other 2 face of the dice are going to be a single shot, which is a 1, and a single shot, which is a 2. And basically, these will do 1 damage to 1 distance away, or 1 damage 2 distance away. And distance is measured by the number of players that are at the table. So you take where you are and you count away from you in clockwise or counterclockwise fashion. And each person is 1 distance. So this will shoot the people that are directly next to you, your neighbors. And then these will shoot the ones that are on 1 step away from your neighbors. So that's what these dice do. Now, some of the other dice that are in the expansions, this one is the coward dice. And so this one's a coward die because it allows you to, for example, the broken arrow side allows you to get rid of an arrow that is in front of you. And it has a face that has 2 health icons on it. So it's really one that will help you heal and do some damage or possibly hurt some people that are there. But there are dangerous sides, like that arrow is still there, and it also has a dynamite side to it. But you also have the loudmouth die. And the loudmouth die is going to give you a doubler. So this is going to count for 2 health at 2 distance away, and this one counts for 2 health at 1 distance away, and then this also has a double Gatling gun symbol on it. Now it also has the bullet die, and this bullet face basically says that you immediately have to lose 1 life point. And then it also has the arrow face, and it also has another dynamite face as well. So these come in the Old Saloon part of the expansion, and basically how these work and how these dice work is you can choose to replace these dice one or both of them, with base dice when you're rolling, but you're still only rolling 5 dice. So if you decide to roll both of these, then you have to get rid of both of these. If you want to roll both of these, then you have to get rid of 2 of these. So you're always rolling 5 dice, but these are dice that you can exchange for those base dice. In the Undead or Alive expansion, you have the dual dice, and basically the dual face basically means that if you roll this, you can give it to somebody else, and they have to roll it. If they roll the dual symbol, then they give it back to you, and you have to roll it again. The first person to not roll the dual face of the die has to lose a hit point, and they also have to take a wound token, and the wound token, generally speaking, is going to get rid of a face of the die for your next turn, or if it's a dynamite token here, it's going to give you an extra dynamite face that you're going to have to deal with during the course of that turn. It also has this face right here, which is the gain 1 life token. In addition, discard 1 dual wound token. If you don't have one, draw a rage card from the deck instead. And rage cards is another thing that came in with the Undead or Alive expansion. Basically, it gives you keep these face down. You can't look at them until your turn comes up, and then you turn them over, and these are dice faces that are going to be added to your die roll, whatever they may be. So it's a really neat expansion, but it counts as rage. The other way you can get get a rage card, is if you have to take 2 or more damage in a single turn, then you can draw one of these rage cards as well. But rolling these dice is really the core mechanism of the game, and it's Yahtzee style rolling. So you get 1 roll and then you get 2 re-rolls. On top of that, not only do you have these rolls, and in the old saloon, you actually have the ability to reveal yourself, and then you have a special ability that you can carry out, but you play the rest of the game where everybody knows who you are. So that's one of the cool things about these. In addition to that, the sheriff plays with an extra 3 life instead of just an extra 2 life. And then there are 3 deputies in this one instead of just 2, like in the base game. Undead or Alive brings in a couple of different things. Brings in the possibility of having a zombie apocalypse outbreak happen. So basically, players who have been eliminated during the course of the game will come back into the game as a zombie, and the renegade will become the zombie master. And basically what they're trying to do is they're just trying to eliminate everybody. And if that's the case, then the zombie and the zombie master will win. But the sheriff and the deputies at that point are trying to just eliminate the zombie master and all of the zombies. So it kind of pulls in a little bit of a twist there. And that's fired off by these boneyard cards. So if you ever have more bones in the boneyard, then there are players that are alive. The zombie apocalypse happens, and now the game changes slightly. But it's a really neat thing. Now, since this is a revisited review, what we're really doing here is we are trying to see if this game has held up over the course of time. Some of those videos that we made were 8 years old. So this is a game that has been around for quite some time. That's the draw. That's the benefit of doing these revisited reviews. We want to see if this game has held its oomph over these, let's just round it and say that it's been a decade. All right. So my first pro of the game is, I love the Yahtzee style dice rolling. I love that kind of dice rolling because you aren't stuck with just one roll. You can push your luck and roll, re-roll dice trying to get a certain combination, but you're also playing with fate a little bit because you could just end up with something you didn't really want to end up with, which is problematic in this because if you're the deputy and you're shooting the sheriff because you don't have anything else that you can really do, that's problematic because you want the sheriff to think that you're the deputy because you are the deputy. Otherwise, he's going to think that you're one of the outlaws or you're the renegade, and you don't want that to happen. Sometimes you might end up harming somebody else on your team as the outlaws. You don't want to target the outlaws, but it's just the way the dice goes sometimes, and that creates a really fun, interesting environment to have a game played in, and I love the dice rolling about the game. Always have, always will. My second pro of the game is the fact that you have your own special ability. I love that this game has variable player powers. I've always enjoyed variable player powers. I like being different than everybody else at the table. I might be doing the same thing. I might be using all the same mechanisms and doing all the same things, but I'm slightly different than you, which means that I'm an individual. I'm not just a vanilla player of the game, and I really enjoy that. On top of that, this game comes with, man, I don't even know how many it comes with. There are, let's see, 8 character cards in the expansion. Let's see, what are there in the base game? There are 16 characters, so now we have 24. With Undead Alive, you have 8 new characters, so that's 32 characters, and then 4 new ones with the Brave 4, so that is 36 different players or kinds of people that you can be in this game, and they're all greatly designed, thematic, Western, Old West feeling characters, and I think it's great. Variable player powers is amazing, and I love it. My third pro, what would an Old West game be without danger? And yes, you have sheriffs and outlaws and renegades shooting their 6-shooters. I get it. But there's also the threat, the outside threat of dynamite, arrows, and those kinds of things, and even zombies. So I love that dangerous threat that they entered into with this, but they kept it Old West themed really well, even with the zombies coming into the picture. I still think they kept it as a thematic inclusion there, and I think that's really neat. I just enjoyed the thematic danger that's in the game that keeps the tension really high, and it's just one of those things that I've always enjoyed about the game. My fourth pro about this is what the expansions add to it. I've always said that the kinds of expansions that I love are the kinds of expansions that add more to the game, but they don't mess with the main mechanisms of the game. Now, what they've done here with all of these different dice and these different abilities for the different roles is they've taken that core mechanism and they've added just a little bit of a bend to it. With Old Saloon being able to reveal yourself instead of trying to stay deceptive and hidden, but if you reveal yourself, you get a little bit of a special ability there. I love that little tack on to that mechanism of hidden roles. With the Undead or Alive, taking the idea of you've been eliminated from the game, but now you're back in and you're rolling dice again, and you're still being able to do that. They also came back into that with the Old Saloon with the Ghost. So the first person to be eliminated becomes the Ghost Renegade. I really enjoy those two factors where they took a player elimination game and said, well, let's not eliminate players, or let's give the players the chance to come back into it after they have been eliminated. I really enjoy that idea in both of those expansions. The dice that come into the expansions are also great thematic inclusions about the Wild West. So the expansions are great expansions, and I think that it's awesome that they've offered it now in one huge, big dynamite-shaped case. As far as the cons are concerned, I look back at some of the cons that we had with some of the other expansions, and you know what? I think they were kind of nah. I don't know that they were great cons. I don't have very many cons about this game anymore. I've been able to play this a few times since I bought it at Gen Con, and it just helped me revisit how much I have loved this game over the years. And you guys know how much I've loved the game. I've included it in probably more top 10 lists than I probably should have. But I stand by all of those times that I've included in those lists because, dadgummit, this is a good game. And I really, really do have a fun time with it. And I'm looking forward to having many more plays with the Dice Explosion. I am going to stand strong. My rating on this has not changed. It is still a 9 out of 10. I love this game. It is a great, great fun game. If you haven't yet, drank the Kool-Aid and gone in on Bang the Dice game, the Dice Explosion is a great way to jump in because it has everything and it's all modular. You don't have to use it all. You can pick and choose what you want. Try it out one time. If you don't like it, you leave it alone. This is a great way to jump in. So I'm staying true to my original 9 out of 10 that it's on the Geek. It has stood the test of time, and I think it will continue to do so. And that is my revisited review of Bang the Dice game using the new Bang Dice Explosion that's available from DV Games now. So that's it. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.